Welcome back to Cosmic Brilliance, and hopefully most of you have watched part one or listened to podcasts of this new miniseries. Today's show is subtitled 8 Children's Superpowers in One Family. Wow. This series is designed to progress towards the unveiling of a remarkable resurrection of historical significance that will both astound you and open doors to heal your soul's ancestral lineages across time and space. And I'm so happy to have Elsa Dillon back again for part 2. Thank you, Elsa.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being back. Elsa is a mother of 8 children, all in one family, who have managed to remember who they are as souls and managed to maintain the fullness of their abilities as galactic humans, if you will. Elsa and her husband are successful photographers and videographers for the world's rich and famous. And when she met her soul-connected husband, Richard, they both became fully dedicated to co-creating a family that exemplifies and would allow soul recall from a very young age, each child's soul memory of who they are in their parallel past lives, understanding their oversoul and who that is, and their mission now in this incarnation. Due to the present cosmic cycles and assistance from our extended star families, we are finding it easier to remember the truth of our cosmic brilliance and beingness. So may this show and mini-series encourage you as well to joyfully step forward, following the prompting sent to you by your Oversoul so you can fulfill your purpose and live a fulfilled life. So welcome back, Elsa. We're going to be talking about your children and their remarkable abilities today.
Thank you for having us again. It's fun.
I have so much fun with you. Now, in part 1, you shared not only your mission and super abilities, but your husband Richard's mission and a few of his abilities. So for this show, we are going to share your enlightened children's abilities. And first, I think I would like to hear from you how generally they are perceived by others, because so many people on this planet are used to feeling ostracized by others and hiding out their true abilities and just afraid of peer pressure. So how are your children, for the most part, received, do you find?
Oh, our children and the family are different. We realize we're different as a group. We do have a presence when we attend things just because of the sheer size of the family. But we also a very close family as well, so that shows. Really realize how different we are until we talk to someone like yourself. How different all the kids' talents are and what they see, and we realize that other people are not doing that. And then we realize that we're different. And we're tapping into something different. Yet we're the same. We're humans. We're flesh and blood. We breathe. We eat. But we are doing these things, and some others are not doing them, or having discomfort or disease. And you can choose that if you wish to, but we don't choose that. And we want to share that is a possibility for people, making the possibles possible. And so the kids are great. They we wanted the kids to come through as we call them clean skins, as in not have all our overlays on them, our fears and our worries. So we worked on it. Richard and I worked on ourselves before the kids came through. As each child came through, they came through my porthole.
Literally, that's great.
And as I had each child, I took on a lot of their personality.
Well, it makes sense that you all feel normal to yourself, because this is going to be the new normal. A lot of people think the new normal is going back to their programmed limited selves, and you are examples of what I feel is how we are truly meant to be once we are free from programming. And of course, you living in Australia and homeschooling and those kind of things allow the children to be less affected by that. So before we get into each child and their abilities, what I want you to do is I'm going to name a term of a super ability. And if you would just briefly describe it so that we don't lose anyone when we say these terms if they haven't heard that before. So let's start with telepathy.
Telepathy, we speak with each other. We can speak also to other beings that are present around other people that they don't even know about. We can speak to their pain body. We can speak to their inner child. We can speak to their ancestors. Or we have had a few people where we've actually spoken to their ET encounters. So telepathy for us isn't just telepathy like right now. Telepathy, we can go either way. I'm going to use the word past and present and future. We can do telepathy. There is no time on it. So then it comes back to the moment collecting again. So telepathy isn't held in just this space. It's dimensional.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way for me to describe it, because
yes. And telepathy, folks, is where you're not using your words, even though you can do telepathy and words at the same time, which is what I do when I'm working with animals, for instance, because animals, as you know, are very telepathic. And so most living beings are all telepathic, which means they can receive what you're thinking, feeling, sensing, and you can have a conversation. And so what you're saying, Elsa, is that is normal without using your mouth.
Yes, it comes back to the it's frequency. So you're just tapping into a frequency, and then you understand that code in that frequency, and then it just comes through as a feeling. So one thing that is really important with the telepathy is making sure that we're in a good space. So we're not angry, we're not tired, because sometimes when you're interpreting, when you're having telepathy and you're run down, which happens to all of us, you interpret the codes differently. It's important to be, like, you know how they say have your chakras in line, be in balance, be hydrated, have enough salt, because when the atoms or DNA or codes in your body, if they're not functioning properly, it's just like a car. If it's not functioning properly, it will misfire, it will have problems. So it will have problems interpreting the telepathy message. So it's important that when we receive messages from others or through others, that we're in a good space. Well, codes can be left in sacred places or places that you've been, and you can go back and collect those codes or expand those codes, because when you were in that time, so going back in time, you might have not had the knowledge that you have now, so you can go back and recollect, remember that code back then at that frequency. So it's expanding telepathy, what we're talking about. So it's making it, you got telepathy as we know it, or the term telepathy here, and now we're going and we're expanding the telepathy. It's kind of fun. It's cool.
That is fun.
So it is fun. It is fun.
It's almost beyond words. It's hard to describe, right? It's just it just happens.
Yes, it does happen.
As our DNA and as our abilities open up.
Yeah. And a lot of the time, a lot of the moments when we are with someone and the telepathy starts to come through, it's like it sucks you or pulls you or pushes you to where the information needs to be collected. It draws you. So it's just reading the signs, reading the codes, reading the frequencies. And it sounds really complicated, but it happens really fast. It's not something that
an example of this that comes to me is the crop circles that appeared everywhere. I love, all through England, especially all along the ley lines, and most of our listeners will know what those are. And they were meant to be decoding and on a subconscious level to most people. Would you agree with that?
I love crop circles, and we exactly what you just said. The crop circles. So you have the crop circles where they've been, and the crop circles in the past as well. And we've had many healing. We've had many important messages from crop circles. Some people say that the crop circles have been overlaid to hide the energy underneath, and that's fine too, because it doesn't matter, because once you can read the codes, you'll see where it is. You know where the presents are, you know where the gifts are, and you know how to find the clues, and it just becomes quick.
We'll get into that when we have the series of you, the part of you in this series of you talking about healing and all of that and how you clear land. So, okay, let's go to channeling.
Channeling was interesting because I've been doing it all along, and a lot of people might find that if they're sensitive, they're channeling. And channeling can be, if you don't know that you're doing it, can be upsetting because you're feeling all these people's emotions, and it can be tough. But then you realize what's going on. So once you know that you're channeling, then you go, who am I channeling? Am I channeling that person? Am I channeling their story? Am I channeling their oversoul? Am I channeling their past lives? And the universe or the frequencies, they just have this way of presenting what you need to know at that moment. And they don't give you preludes. They don't give you build-up music or anything like that. It just happens, and you just got to be ready for it and alert for it, and then you collect it. You collect it, and when you hear that term, be in your presence. Be in your presence means there's all these gifts around you all the time. There's gifts when you talk to someone. There's gifts in the water. There's gifts when you take a step on that ground. How do you know what those crystals are under the ground? What are those energies coming up through your feet? So there's gifts everywhere, and you just have to be able to pick up on them and be light enough to pick up on them. But if you're heavy and you've got deadlines and you've got this to do and that to do, it's very hard to see those presents because you're so busy. We've taught the kids to see those presents.
Yeah.
But they understand these gifts, but they know in their hearts that everyone has these gifts. They're just not using them, that's all. They've just got it turned off a little bit.
Well, you either come in agreeing for those to be open at a certain time, right? Or you're kind of shut off a lot. And then usually it's a near-death experience, an emergency, having your back against the wall that will open that up. Or some never open that up because it's not their agreement in this life, or who knows. So, but as creator beings, we have to know something exists for us to play with it more, for us to focus on it, to develop it, I think, like you told your children, oh, hey, there's presents and all these things. Let's go have fun and treasure hunt. So, okay, what about precognition, which is seeing, generally we talk about that into the future, right? What something's going to happen, right? Ahead of time.
Well, we have one daughter who is very precognition. we have another daughter who she'll see into her dreams, and her dreams will present in the future. Each child has a different flavor, each person in the family and the member, so it's seeing into the future, but also this is where it gets interesting, seeing into the future to go into your past.
Yes.
How do you explain that one? What word is that?
I know.
Where in our dictionary is that word? Because I don't know. Which then comes back to there's no time.
Yes. The future, past, now, you know, or something like that. Yeah, exactly. Most people are still trying to get their head around that, but it's a lovely concept to work with and very powerful in healing.
But it's very real as well. I mean, one of the films that I had when I was growing up that I loved was Back to the Future. Now, that says it in the title, right?
Yes. Me too. I bought all those books that had that. It was just attractive.
Back to the future. Like it's, so.
It's easier. I think it's easiest just to say at first that it's all simultaneous, kind of happening at the same time, and then, you know, work from there a little bit. So now retrocognition, quote, seeing in the past, right? Or is that what retro means? Retrocognition.
Yeah. So what point am I seeing in the past? So this is where I ask the kids, are you seeing in the past from your oversoul? Are you seeing in the past from a being that you're channeling? Are you seeing in the past of someone else's life that you're around? Or are you seeing something that in the past that needs to be healed? Like, what's the purpose of it? Like, who are you seeing it through? What is the purpose of it? So by being able to ask out loud those questions helps us narrow down the purpose or the gift of that. So it's like dissecting, it's like putting the puzzle together. Yeah.
Not to mention it's kind of a form of retrocognition, I guess, for lack of a better way of explaining it, is to access your past lives.
Yeah.
In a way too.
But is it the past life here in Gaia, or is it a past life on another plane? Or so because if you get it confused, the message is very confusing. So it's important to find out where the frequency code is coming from. So
and how do you do that? Is it so natural for you that you just go boom, 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 and track to it really fast? Or do you get clues along the way? Or are there colors to watch? Or
it is really fast. The kids are really fast too. I don't know if I developed it naturally over my life. I don't actually have answers for that. But it keeps coming back to being clean, as in
yes,
my chakras in line. You know, I'm getting enough water. If I don't have all the mechanics working properly, the messages are slower.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then it actually I have to say, I do feel heavier. Things feel slower. And sometimes it's meant to feel slower, especially if there's a galactic kind of energy coming in, or beings are in a porthole, or you always see the Schumann resonance rise up. Sometimes you're meant to go down like a wave, go heavier. Yeah. So that you can download it, and you go into a lull stage or a suspended stage. So you're downloading it, and then you have to rest, because if you fight it and then try to channel or try and be telepathic or anything in those things, that's when the mixed messages come through.
Okay, that's really cool. Hold that thought. Okay, I've never heard anyone say you download. by lowering your frequency and then stabilizing at that frequency that matches, then receiving the data, which are subconscious and we can do at warp speed, but it doesn't mean it's been interpreted by the brain until we get used to working more of the brain, and let yourself rest after that and then process it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the best way, I like how Richard describes it. It's like you're putting a new program in the computer. So the computer goes, I need to go and sleep, download, and then you see the little timer. And sometimes it goes really fast, and sometimes it can go a day.
That's
it's kind of
cool. I never thought of it that way. It's really cool. That makes sense.
It helps us if anyone in the family is getting down. We just say, oh, maybe you just need to go and rest in the sun or just lie flat on the ground. Lying flat on the ground is a big one for us, lying on the ground.
On the earth, right?
Yeah. Standing in water or drinking water, they're things that will help bring that in. It's important to know that that's happening, because if you fight that and then you have arguments with the other people around you because you're fighting it. But if you know that it's happening, then it brings peace again, and it brings a truce.
And I love that how you explained that in part 1, where so many fights or arguments in relationships is a clashing of frequencies.
Yeah.
It's very interesting to observe it that way from a higher perspective. I appreciate that.
You could say in a relationship, I really love this person. I love them, but we argue all the time. And then if you work out that something's jolting their frequency or jolting theirs, where there be power lines above you, or you're not meant to be sleeping in that room, or you have to change the bed around, or there's something in the bedroom that's setting it off, and then it's just like these little twigs, and then you have a harmonious life together. It's
amazing.
Yeah.
Well, and of course people also are getting projecting onto them and getting emotionally triggered also by each other too. So there's so many levels to look at this. What about psychokinesis or telekinesis, where you move objects? Throw objects, move objects with your mind.
Okay, so I will visualize something to happen, and then it will appear.
Pops in.
But might not appear straight away. So I haven't been able to make something move in front of me, but I can ask something to present. The girls can do that with other beings. They can make things present. So is that moving something, or is that calling something in?
Ooh, I love that. Yeah, soldier programs and stuff, they call psychic abilities psionic abilities, and they say one of the rarest is to be able to teleport, but also they have to train very hard to move objects or throw objects, But I love the easier concepts, which of course the brain struggles so much for most of us with trying to figure out. But if we can just bring forward like an openness and bring forward our natural abilities, of which 90% are probably subconscious in a way, turn those on, and the ways we do that are, like you say, with clean living. We're going to have a whole part and series on that. It is almost like, okay, it's like cherry picking. It's like, okay, this is what I want in my reality. And so it creates in your reality.
Yeah. The trick with that one is if you have an expectation on it, so then you put me on it.
Oh.
If you put the time on it,
you're attached to it.
then it creates disappointment, and then the whole thing's gone. You've just melted it, basically. It's like the whole frequency fragments in front of you. Whereas if you put it out there, and I have heard, I think Abraham Hicks might mention where they put it out there and then they let it go.
Yes. Yeah, you let it go. Exactly.
Yeah. So
just trust that it will be so.
Yeah. But the little girls and the big girls, but mainly the little girls, they will put things out there and they will appear pretty much really quickly. So they're fast at it.
That's great. So they're not getting in their own way.
They're not getting in their own way. And they so they call it wishes. They don't call it the big words.
Yeah. That's cute. I like that better.
They say wishes, and they'll say, you did a wish. It's that. Yeah. So, but is that moving objects? To us, it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't.
A parent from one plane to another.
Yeah.
Right. They're talking. What about they're talking kind of within the same plane where you can move an object with your mind. That's what they're practicing within the same reality.
Yeah.
But
I guess we probably don't do that because we like the cosmos to unfold before us.
Oh, so that's a beautiful way of saying it.
Yeah. So we believe that everything has energy. So the cup, the bottle, and if the cup falls over without me moving it, I go, all right, who's here?
Yeah.
What do you want? Which one's talking now? Or if the lights turn off or something breaks, then we will go into finding out what energy, who is the energy, or is it just an energy that wants to be acknowledged? So is it here to remind us of what we can do?
Mm-hmm. Or even a thought we were just thinking, and it can act as an exclamation mark.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
And people will be hearing these stories going, that happens to me all the time. And now, through that expansion, they are remembering who they are.
Yes. Beautiful. Okay, so I don't know what to call this ability, but we could call it phase shifting invisibility, like the Sasquatches do, which we'll talk about some time, where they move in and out of third to fourth density, or disappearing in the body or returning to the body. And I believe you shared with me very briefly in one of our pre-talks I think it's an amazing thing that happened with Gigi. Do you want to tell that story when you were in the kitchen?
We're actually in the office. And she walked into the office. It was after quite a big ET experience 2 days prior. So I felt that it had something to do with that. Anyway, she walked into the office. As she walked into the office, she fell to the ground. And the way I would describe that is if you had a coat hanger holding clothes and then the clothes just fell to the ground, and the body weight went from really heavy to really light. She actually did hurt her back and her head and made a dent in 2 walls. So when she fell, it was really heavy. So they really wanted it to be a physical experience for her. This is where they get kind of funny, because Gigi said to me, why did this happen in the office? And I said, they wanted to be off your face, meaning... And she said, are you really seriously telling me this? And I said, yeah. And she said, so what's happened? And she had gone up in a craft and they had to shut her 3D-ness down because the 3D couldn't handle what they were about to give her, the frequency.
That's exactly what I was getting as you were talking.
She collects the frequency up there, then comes back. I had to ask her to come back into her body.
Wow.
Yeah. So, which is quite, so I've got this going on and mum going on, going, oh, she's just hit her head. She's made a huge dent in the wall.
Oh.
Like, do I interrupt? What do I do? So I call her back. I said, Gigi. She came back. She did not look like Gigi. Her face looked different. And whenever you see someone that's had, I think it's a stroke or cerebral palsy where their face has dropped on one side, that's kind of how Gigi looked. It was like all her body, like her body muscles had forgotten who Gigi was. So they didn't know what shape to form.
Wow.
I know, right? So I had to say.
It was okay. The words that came when you started this was, this is my sense of humor, bad teleportation adjustment. That's before you even got into like bad teleportation adjustment.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Gigi's got lots of swear words for what happened. She could say the same thing with swear words involved.
Yeah.
She wasn't impressed. She wasn't impressed because she
exactly. It's like sloppy.
But it was. She felt it was sloppy, but then I helped her through it and explained it to her. But when she fell, and they had to shut her off quickly because it would have caused her body 3D body personal harm, dis-ease. And there was obviously an important message from this being to get through to Gigi for the highest good of all. And how do they get through our 3Dness? How do they get through? It's sometimes they just have to do it the way they do it.
Yeah.
But we can't take offense, off face.
Yeah.
So she's like, yeah, okay, I get it.
Did you remember what was so important to?
Yeah. She was gone a while. Again, she wasn't gone as long as 10 years, but she said felt like she was gone like 6 months of 6 months worth of, And she started drawing quite a different way after that as well. She had another edge to her, which we found really interesting. But it took her 2 or 3 days. Again, the download phase. She had to shut down and go into that computer phase of absorbing it all in her
all the
body.
Data and the information. Yeah. It's almost like she brought in another aspect of her being or something.
Yeah.
A higher aspect. Yeah, but that was sloppy. That was a little dangerous.
Well, we did call it sloppy, but then she had to do it with me in the room as well.
Yeah.
Because she was outside. She could have fallen anywhere, and she had to fall so that I could see, the mother could see she was okay. So in that way, I was thinking, well, they're actually doing it with compassion because they want to make sure that she is looked after, that someone will pull her through.
And it was really important, obviously, for a variety of reasons, but maybe she's still uncovering all those reasons, But that's pretty drastic. It's a wild story. Okay, so what about astral travel? A lot of humans have done that when they're sleeping, and there's all kinds of rules around it. It's considered dangerous, but I imagine that your family just does it as a normal thing all the time.
Yes. Yeah. They all have different ways of doing it. The astral travel is a big one. In different forms too. If I'm in a regress, sometimes I can go back as a ghost. I can go back as an orb. Yeah, I know, right?
When you say go back, what are we talking about?
If I go back in regresses, I can be different.
Regressions. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, regressions.
Okay, so folks, she's talking about hypnotic regressions, right?
Yeah, but in the astral plane, when I'm when I'm moving in astral planes, you can take different forms as well. So you could go as an orb, or a ghost, or an animal, or just like smoke.
So you're taking your astral body while your physical body is sleeping. Is it true that you're connected by the silver cord that goes between the astral body and the body? So if anything happens to the physical body, you're alerted and jam back down into your body. Have you ever?
Yeah, and then a lot of the time, I personally have the jolt where I come back in and it's like a and I wake up and I think Gigi does the same. We have Jet who sleeps with his eyes open. So he does all his stuff with his eyes open. So we have to go and close his eyelids because it's freaky.
Well, he also will get dry eyes maybe too.
Yeah.
You have to blink a lot to keep.
Yeah. It's
wow.
They can when two of them have astral traveled, but they take their bodies with them. So I've had to say go back to bed to the body that's asleep.
Wait, so would that be actual teleportation if you're taking a body with you? Are you creating an astral double? I mean, there's so many ways we can go into this, so we probably shouldn't get too complicated.
Right? Yeah, it gets tricky because I don't know. I don't want to complicate it with the labels.
Is your family usually doing that at night while they're sleeping, which is the most common time, or do they do it all?
Richard can probably do it. Yeah,
it will.
Yeah.
Show off. No,
I know it's annoying.
Okay. What about remote viewing?
Oh, that's a big one. Yeah.
I think that's a skill that's probably one of in some ways, the easiest to acquire by people. There's schools for, offered for civilians and stuff to do that.
Yeah.
And
again, with the remote viewing, it comes back to similar to meditation. It's going into a peaceful place and allowing, and then the allowing with intention, allowing with intention, and then it comes through. And being able to do it while you're sitting down, lying down, and then doing it while you're walking, doing it while you're doing the dishes, doing it while you're doing your hair, doing it in the mirror, and then you play with it.
That's how you know where all your kids are. I know.
Look, now that's funny. That's funny because
does that verge on spying?
Well, our kids always say, you're going to say that to Mum. She's going to know you're lying. It's not going to work. They go on, you tell Mum what you think, and because they'll test me on it, and they go, or Richard will do the same. He goes, because we know, we just do, we know. Yeah. Or we'll let them finish their story because it's entertaining, and then we'll go, no.
Especially because they have part Irish in them.
Yeah.
We're great storytellers. Usually slightly exaggerate.
And usually funny. It's always funny.
It is always funny. Okay, so what about clairvoyance, which is clear seeing? Seeing beyond what most people can have trained themselves to see?
Yeah. So clairvoyance, we just checking through each family member. Yeah, they all do it. Yep. We all do it. Yeah.
And clairaudience, which is really fun because you have all kinds of animals and everything. And that is clear hearing. And that would also involve telepathy in a certain way, correct? That you're hearing.
Yes.
So describe that the children can do with nature and all of that.
Well, we can be inside the house and we'll hear a call of a bird and we will know what that bird's saying. But is that just us understanding the language of that bird? So clairaudience to me is just clear audio. So we just understand it. That's all. That's what to us. So again, it comes back to we don't class that as a gift. We just go, we understand that because we understand the frequency of that bird's call. So, so I can be asleep in my room and hear a call outside, and I can tell Richard that there's a python on the north side of the house over there, and he'll go, "You're asleep. how did you know that? And I said, well, I can hear them. And he goes, well, are they awake or what, are you hearing the bird? And I said, no, I can hear the snake.
Mm.
Said, how do you hear a snake?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, unless you have wolf hearing, which some do by certain genetics, we think, okay, we got to learn the other person's language. Like, oh, I'm learning Italian or I'm learning French, and the only way to communicate is English, something like that. You are taking it to the next step up, which all advanced beings, most of them do, which is hearing, seeing, knowing, accessing through frequencies. Everything is frequencies, is the common thing. And like the quote we did in the previous show, left by Tesla, you will not understand the universe if you do not understand frequencies and vibrations and energy. So that's the common language. And then and that's a whole nother story, right? Tower of Babel, all that, but where we downstepped and got dumber and then all that. So you have been able to recall, to understand what a bird's saying, or to understand what a tree's saying, or to understand all of these things is a common language. Mm-hmm. And for right now, we call that the ability telepathically to access and decode the frequency.
Yes.
Would you say that's fair? I know this is like, the answer is probably unlimited. How many frequencies do you think there are?
So every time we're doing an action or an act or an acknowledgement, we're creating expansion. So we're creating frequencies all the time.
Wow.
All the moment. Yeah.
Wow. And of course that goes out to the whole quantum field.
Yeah.
Right? And that's, I imagine that's the way we also learn from each other, is through this whole interconnected quantum field, right?
Yeah.
Wow. And to think that someone once told, I think it was Bashar on TV, he said, we jump 96,000 times a second. So if you think about the capacity we have, and that I still feel that a lot of people are doing it, but we're so unconscious of it, And I think that in third density, even though most of us have moved out of third density, I think in third density, it's almost an oxymoron, or would be so hard to do. For instance, to have immediate access to all your lifetimes and how you died would be overwhelming.
It will literally blow your mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's painful. We have been warned by beings that some beings are not meant to be spoken with certain people. So, of course, we will allow people to connect with beings through us, but they'll know. They'll resonate with beings, and then they won't. And there's a reason that there's a block there, because they've got to catch up their frequency first so that it doesn't hurt them, because nobody wants to be hurt. The beings don't want us to be hurt. So it
goes, one of the reasons that we keep emphasizing to raise your frequencies through joy and good things and good food and all that is because when you raise your frequencies, you are more capable, generally speaking, of more life in the truest sense of the word.
Yeah. Well, the atoms in your body cannot hold the information. So you need those endorphins running around in you. But if those endorphins aren't vibrating and they're dull and heavy, they can't hold the frequency. It just doesn't go anywhere. It just slides off. It becomes
that's
waste.
Fascinating.
It becomes waste in your body. And then
that opens up a whole other can of worms, pun intended, right?
Yeah.
What shuts that off? Wow. Okay. This is really fun. Okay. So then we have clairsentience. And a lot of people see that as being empathic. And so many have a difficult time here because they came in empathic. And they said, oh my God, I feel what everyone's feel. I can't differentiate that from myself. And I have to go, sequester myself. And no one trains them in how to deal with this. So
clairsentience means to you, what does clairsentience mean?
Well, it means clear sensing to me.
Okay. So
clear sensing, yeah.
So for while I was probably from puberty to about 17, I would have, or actually probably even a little bit older, just before Richard, I would have extreme, like a train station in my head noise, which would cause a bit of pressure here on my ear. Mm-hmm. And that was all those frequencies. You know how you said, how many are there? That was all the frequencies trying to get in. They're trying to get in.
Wow.
But I didn't know what to do with them, so it caused this train station sort of pain. I would also have the same feeling when I would lie in the sun. Through my eyelids, the sun would come and it would cause the same noise, but through light, which I completely did not understand.
Wow. The photonic energy, yeah.
Yeah, so, but now I go, when I feel that feeling come through, I just go, I go like that sort of thing. I not physically, but in my head I go like that. I race, and then I go, which one? And then I grab one, and then the pain goes instantly. The other time that feeling comes through is when I'm feeling sorry for myself.
Mm.
And then I get annoyed because I'm like, okay, all right. So I have a cry or a meltdown, and then the pain gets more intense, and then I can hear them basically saying to me, "Have you had enough of that now? You had enough, or you want to stay there a bit longer?"
Pity party.
Yeah, the pity party. And then I'm like, okay, and then I'm like, enough.
Yeah,
it goes. Like, but I'm not doing that with my hands, but I'm giving the example enough.
Yeah.
But I'm saying enough to my story of Elsa, it's enough. You don't need to do that anymore. So I'm turning off an emotion just like that. I'm turning off pain just like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that applies to everything then. So this is where you share this story and people then get a spark or a trigger in them, and they'll go, I can do this. If she can do it, I can do it.
Yes, that's so important. I've done the thing where because I tend to be a little bossy, I command it to stop. It's like just this stop kind of thing, in a certain way, and it will stop and pain will stop. But I also look first to see why it presented itself.
Yeah.
What's the reason that it's here?
Yeah. So because sometimes you'll ask it to stop and it goes,
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, I get it.
Yep. Okay, so, and then two more. Claircognizance, which I think of as clear knowing. So it's almost like someone who says, I don't really see things or do things or blah, 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 but I have that immediate kind of knowing of.
That's just Richard all over. What's claircognizant? Oh, we should rename him that.
Claircognizant, I know.
When someone knows, he knows. He just knows.
Yeah.
It is annoying as a wife sometimes that he knows, but he also knows when I know. And
I know that you know that he knows.
It's very funny.
And you're like, no, well, I'm going to pretend I don't know for a minute while I take your head off.
Well, my cute answer always to it is, well, you married me, so.
There. Bring it back to him. Yeah, there you go.
You married me. You made a choice.
And I think perhaps immediate knowing is a more seamless way of incorporating so many of these terms we've talked about. It's just,
I love that.
That's what I'm sensing, because I think that's kind of how I work more than all these other things. I'm like, wow, it's not really that. It's not really that. It's more like just,
Yeah.
and I guess you could call that a deep intuition too. Does it feel right? Do you? So I think all this stuff is just, you're getting stuff, at warp speed, and then it's like that.
I love that, because that's what it felt like. It felt like all that noise, all that airport noise, traffic in my head went seamless. Yeah, it just went into seamless, and then it all becomes one. So even though all these names of all these different things, to us it's seamless. It just comes all together, and it just becomes what you do, who you are. It doesn't even have a label anymore, because you're just doing it. It is. I love that word, seamless. Yeah.
It's like seamless, and almost, now the seamless is the end result, but the initial one, what I'm seeing or imagining is everything collapses into a coherent, harmonic frequency reality. That's
Well, the other thing we say is that so you collapse in time, it becomes seamless. It all collapses in together, and then it goes out from there, which is then expansion.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So it goes into the seamless, then it goes to black, and then the light comes in. And then expand it. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Last one. I didn't even know this term. Ergokinesis, which is electrical, affecting electrical things.
Oh, that's Ginger. Ginger all over. But because Ginger came through me as a conduit, I went through all the electrical. But because she's such an electrical being in our family, we all go through electrics with her in some way or another, and it's communicating through the electrics. Is that the term for what you have?
Yes. Well, or affecting electrical, and almost everyone who's been aboard craft or has contacts or things like that, like I can't wear watches easily, the batteries stop, things like that.
Yeah. Well, I have when I hold iPhones, the time changes on, but everyone says, how can you change an iPhone time? And I don't mean to change it, but it just does. So mine's never in line with all the other iPhones. How does that work?
I know, that's so cool. All right, folks. So that takes us through every possible super ability definition that gets tossed around, and we may not know the full meaning of, so that we're clear. And so and many people have been exposed to the Marvel movies, which of course talk about these, all these abilities. What I love about your family is that the metaphysical connection and abilities are considered by all the children as a natural instinct, just like breathing is to them. And I believe that is our future. That's how it is for us as beings. And we have to remember that. I thought that was so beautiful. And so let's go to start with your oldest girl, Gemma, who's 20 years old.
Gemma foresees the future a lot. From a little age, she can see the future. She draws the future. She is a very definite child, always definite child. She came through on a full moon, and she does jewelry, silver jewelry. So her grandfather, her Egyptian grandfather, was a jewelist, and she just picked up jewelry. Her name is Gem. She studies crystals. So she loves crystals, loves them, talks to them, asks them questions. She heals animals and has a deep understanding with animals. So she will retrain animals. She will. She's learned taught herself how to ride like American Indians bareback, so run alongside the horse and then jump on the horse. She's taught the horses to with Arabic type training where they lie them on the ground and meditate with them, and yeah, it's quite amazing to watch. All self-taught, because these aren't things I can do with horses. These are things they've self-taught themselves. So they have an inner passion, which we support. Again, when we support our children, some of these things they do can be quite scary because they're little with big horses. You know, these horses, when they fall down big or go to lie down. So, and they're little when they're doing these things, but because they have a way and they are aware of their environment and the horse and they're communicating with the horse, we have complete support for them and trust that they will have a great outcome because of where they started from.
Yes.
When they're doing it. Yeah. Because people will go, oh, you're being irresponsible parents. And we go, yes, if they weren't where they were in that space. But they are in that space. They do all this stuff. They are very capable. And so we allow them to do these things.
You respect the power of their souls.
Yes. Yeah. We're allowing them to be them, but we also are there to guide and protect. But we step out the way because we did not want to be parents that stepped in the way. We wanted to step out the way, let them do it, and then coach maybe or guide or a little niggle here, a little niggle there, but let them be them. And she is now swinging her sword around and grounding it in the earth, and she's bringing it into earth now. It's not about the fight. It's about compassion and love, and it's beautiful. And she's had to deal with so many issues in herself to deal with that warrior within. It's tough being a warrior. It is.
Yes.
With other people, it's tough being a warrior for her.
They don't know what to do with themselves. I work with a lot of warriors, and they don't know what to do with themselves if they don't have a cause.
Yes.
And, there's the hero's journey is another huge program. It's actually a program, but it's another huge program that affects the consciousness here, and it's how they get everyone to sign up for military and, to be the hero and stuff. So it's tricky to find a new place to put all that energy into, Yeah.
Well, I'm going to share those words with her because I know that they will help her.
Yes.
Knowing the mission. And so little Gemma was our first, very dominant Gemma, which we love about her. We went to school, Fate. So in the earlier years, our children went to school. And we were at the school Fate, or the fair, and parents came up to us and said, have you seen the portraits? Now, all the children were told to draw portraits of their family, and then the parents would go and buy the portraits back. So the parents are coming up to Richard and I. We just had our number 6 child, Jerry. So I was wearing her. She was like probably 2 months. We're at the fair, and these parents kept saying to us, you've got to see the portrait. And we were, okay, so we went to see the portrait. Gemma had drawn the family, so the 6 children and us. And then she drew 2 beings up on a cloud. And I went, they're like ETs. I said, Gemma, who are they? And she said, they're waiting. I said, who are they waiting for? They're waiting for you. And they're waiting, and they're really, really annoying. Let me tell you, they're so annoying. They're waiting. And I said, but who are they? And she said, you know who they are. And then she ran off, and I was like, Gemma, come back. Who are these?
Wow. Well, so we're showing this portrait up now as we speak, and you can see the portal. There's a little portal, and then you see 2 beings that are ET souls So they're waiting to be born, right? And that's your two next kids that she had predicted. Is that correct?
Yep. And she still says they're really annoying. So
that's an amazing story, but it's cute. Okay, now you have next Jack, who's 19 years old.
So Jack is very passionate. He's lovely. Everyone loves Jack's energy. He's just so fun to be with. He's a great surfer. Jack has we've only just come to know what the term is on his last injury, but it's called hyperflexibility, where they dislocate easily, and it's classed as a disease. It actually has one of those alphabet disease names. We were brought to our attention by the acupuncture. He told us about it. But he's also said, do your research on it, because a lot of these people that have this genetics are the ultimate athletes. They become super beings. And I just loved hearing him say that, because
beautiful. Yeah.
Because if they can channel their energy into all their muscles, they become super the way that they can move. So with Jack, he's dislocated quite a few times, once in his shoulder as a baby, and the big one was his knee, where it completely comes out. Most people with what happened to him would go into surgery, but he learned to heal it himself. And he did that through sound healing and through crystals on his legs. His sisters all helped him. They all fed him herbs, and he healed it without any operations. So
wonderful. It's like tuning forks and everything. That is so wonderful. Okay, and what about Gigi, 18 years old?
Gigi's great. Gigi's very shy. She's a stunning girl, very shy, excellent surfer, and she has drawn the most amazing beings. Gigi is an excellent surfer, like just so graceful to watch. She dances on the board. They have dolphins around them. They have huge sharks come underneath them. They make eye contact with all the creatures that they meet, flying fish, turtles. And I always ask them, what was it like? What was the eye contact like? She's had dolphins surf with her on waves. So because their frequency is so excited and loving, I'm sure it just draws them in. And even the sharks that go underneath them, they're just curious. They're not hungry. They're curious. And it's nice to hear. With Gigi, she has taught herself astronomy, but she wasn't happy with what she was getting with astronomy, so she went to the ancient astronomy and mythology, and we bought her tools to use with astrology, but she decided to use her hands like the ancient ones, so she'll go out and map with her hands. So it's beautiful, and she knows all the names, but not only she knows the names, but she'll know the mythology names as well. So, and she'll help tell stories to the girls when they're out watching the stars. It's so pretty, and they're so cute, and how they talk to the stars like they're friends. It's really nice. It's a nice way.
Stars? Are you talking about actual stars? Are you talking about ships that disguise as stars? Are you spacecraft? What are you talking about with stars?
They talk about the set stars, and then they talk about the craft that, to a lot of people, they will class them as shooting stars or moving stars, but a lot of those stars are craft.
Okay.
Because they move differently. You can't zigzag or flash, or you just a star moves on an orbit, so does a satellite. When they move differently, up, down, round, it's a craft, some sort of craft, whether it's a military or whoever, it's a craft. Yeah. And she'll say there's going to be something happening over here. So I feel like she's communicating with the set stars, and then they tell her where.
Yeah.
So is that telepathy with stars or
with the a cosmic family?
Yeah.
And they're playing with her. What about Jet, who's 15 years old?
Jet is the giant. He's very fair. He is the fisherman of the family. Excellent fisherman. He was fishing when he was in nappies. He would cast rods out, and people would ask to cast as good as he would fishing. He's amazing.
Wow.
And he not only fishes with the rod, but he would go spearfishing as well. So when he would spearfish, he meets all encounters and sharks, a lot of sharks. And he's got names for the sharks, the local sharks in the area. And he can do their facial expressions, and he says that he has arguments with the sharks because the shark wants his prey that he caught, and Jet wants the prey that he caught, because it took a lot of energy to swim out to that point. And so he comes in and tells me how he has arguments with sharks, and I'm like, just give the fish to the shark. Please give the fish to the shark. But he says, no, they know I'm not happy, and they know to leave me alone.
So what about Ginger, who's 14 years old?
Ginger's great. She is the sewer in the family. She sews. She has her own clothing label, and she sews the most beautiful gowns and corsets. She loves that era. She just loves all the fancy frays and tulips and puff sleeves. She also sews fashion, and she is electrical. She has electrical energy. She was born in an electrical storm. I was electrocuted, I think, 5 or 8 times when I was pregnant with her.
Wow.
I was electrocuted from the stove to PowerPoints to a meter box. Yeah, a lot. You could not notice it. We had, on her birth, I had to have all the light globes in the home that we were living at changed to the new ones from us. We weren't allowed to have light globes from the previous owner. I have no idea what it meant, but she was not going to come out until the last light globe that we forgot about in the closet. And you don't think of a light globe in the closet. And the midwife said, what's holding it up? What's holding it up? And I said, I know this is going to sound really weird, but it's a light globe in the closet. As soon as Richard took it out, Ginger's born.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because she wanted to be born into a darkness, or because it would have been dangerous for her to be born, or just the effect? Do you have any sense of that?
Again, everything has energy. She did not want that old light globe in, and we had an electrical storm. Like, who has all
yeah.
The midwife was like, this is unbelievable.
I bet. How fascinating. Okay, and let's move on to Jerry, 13 years old.
Jerry is our gentle one. She's the storyteller of the family. She has the most profound words that come out of her mouth. She's so calm. She's very angelic. She was born like Jesus, with a manger with all the animals around her. She's the story with Jerry is that when I was pregnant, just towards the birthing of Jerry, I got whooping cough, and I had it for about a week. Then it went dormant for 10 days to allow for the birth. Then Jerry came through, and so she had a few days being Jerry, and then we both had whooping cough. It came back. It like resurrected in us. Wow. And for 6 weeks, I think it was, we had whooping cough. I would sit up with her for 6 weeks. because I didn't want to lay her down. I knew that if we laid her down, she would have difficulty breathing. So I laid up with her for 6 weeks. She's never really been ill, though, since. She's probably one of our strongest children with illnesses. That was quite an amazing story with Jerry.
That's amazing. It stopped for those 10 days. That's
10 days, went dormant, yeah.
Pretty powerful. Okay, and Gidget at 12 years old?
Gidget studies birds, and she's also a geologist. She is our meter child, so she can feel energies. She'll predict things that are storms coming through. She can feel it, and you can see almost her energy dive down, and we know that something's coming. So we kind of get prepared.
Wow.
Yeah, she's quite incredible. She speaks with sirens underwater. And
beautiful. In the streams, the ocean, or anywhere?
Fresh or saltwater sirens. She has all of them. She'll go under, and they present her with gifts, and they give her crystals. So she'll come up with these huge agates or hematites or pyrites. There's just so many, carnelian, all these gifts, and they give her gifts, and then they ask her to do things for them. So they ask her to do groundings or clearings, yeah. But they're all underwater. They're underwater.
So is she able to breathe almost underwater? Does she have that ability to hold her breath a long time? Like part mermaid?
I think because they in up water a lot, they're capable to hold their breath probably a little bit longer than most children. But I think also because they're distracted under the water, they can be under there because they're entertained by these beings under there.
Does she hear the songs from the sirens?
She hears their songs and their calls and their lights. She sees their gifts. And she feels if they're concerned about things. So they'll come up and tell me what has happened, and then we might have to go on and do a clearing or a grounding.
That is truly beautiful. Truly beautiful. And okay, so we have one more. Jeannie, 10 years old. Is she an actual genie?
Yeah, she is. Yep, everyone in the family agrees. She's an entity. She's probably the dominant one in the family. She's a geologist with Gidget, and she also hears the sirens. She can move big animals around her, horses, and she's very good at moving them around her. She's also very connected, super quick with beings and ghosts and ETs and crafts. She'll communicate with them very fast. She's really, really fast. Will be the story that I want to present with Jeannie is how when we're in with a lot of 3D, so we're at a shopping centre or walking through the street, she will see people shape-shift in front of her or disclose, show their true self and then put it back. Now, she will tell me or pull on my top to point, and we can see them, but by that stage they've turned. They know that when we, they know that I know, they all know because if we're telepathic, they're telepathic. So
absolutely, yes. So, and one of the things is holographically, they can put a display of being a human when they have another face, and so they're letting her see that their true self, right?
Yeah. So we see the being, and we'll just see that like in our peripheral vision, but she'll see the whole thing. Like they're doing it for her acknowledgement. So then it brings me to the question, why are they doing it? So a little girl can see, to show others not to be afraid.
Yes. and that they're also here.
Yeah. Well, they're here.
They're here by the millions, And so that's beautiful. Well, thank you so much for sharing all those magical stories and the abilities. I know we just touched the surface. And I just have one quick question before we close, is why I'm curious, why did you name the girls with names beginning with G and the boys with names beginning with J?
We heard a Frenchman say, Elsa Dillon. And Richard and I fell in love with how he said it. So we asked, because we knew we were going to have Jacques, so he would say Jacques Dillon. And so that was it. We were like, all the kids have to have G's and J's, and they have to sound good French.
That is so great. That's the most normal answer.
Yeah.
It's a great way to end. I was just assuming the G stands for small gods or something.
Yeah. Lots of people will say to us, say hello to the G's and the J's. Yeah, but it's just, we don't speak French, but it just doesn't sound pretty.
It's a beautiful sounding language. Yeah. Well, Elsa, thank you so much for introducing your children to us and having them willing to share confidential information so that people can learn and grow, because you are all certainly examples of non-programmed, full creator beings, and all-in-one family is so extraordinary and fun. It's truly inspiring, and I take this as a sacred sharing gift of trust from your family. So please, before we close, share your contact information. And I understand that you are now doing one-on-one sessions, Zoom sessions. So talk about that a little bit.
So one-on-one Zoom session is with myself. And I basically listen to the frequency of that person, and then I let it unfold. I allow and I accept what is about to present, and I share with them. And hopefully that will assist and take them to their next path, or make it find it easier to maneuver, just maneuvering through your day to day, understanding that they live, that they're here for a reason. Everyone is here for a reason. Everyone's here for a reason.
With that beautiful reminder, we will end, and thank you so much for your generosity, and for generosity of spirit, generosity of time, even though we know that's not real. Folks, I appreciate you joining in, being curious about things that might be really on the edge of your belief system, but are inclusive of what you yourself are capable of. And by the way, it's important to note the Dillon family and I are currently putting their extraordinary historical and mysterious life story that spans across time and space, along with multiple extraterrestrial and star family drawings, into several books and divination cards. So please note that all material in this Cosmic Brilliance miniseries, including the drawings, the title, and the unique subtitles for each ongoing part, are now copyrighted as of September 25th, 2022. We thank you so much. And if you care to, like and subscribe and click on notifications so you will not miss the next part. And join us in the unveiling of the mystery, because it only gets better. Until then, onwards and upwards. And thank you so much. Blessings.